Today we're going to be talking about why you compare yourself with others. How's it going, guys? Dr. Tank PharmD here, board certified practicing pharmacist and personal health coach, helping action takers like you take back control of their lives and emotional health so they can feel better and be better. And although I am a practicing medicine specialist, I'm not your specialist. So if you have any questions regarding your condition, please see your doctor. Don't forget to click like and subscribe so you get the latest updates on the newest weekly videos. Let's get into it. So you're pushing and making strides towards your goal. You finally succeed at your goal, you get there and realize somebody's been there before. Somebody got there faster. Somebody was there better than you. And you know what? It's disheartening. You were a champion seconds ago, arms in the air, that you succeeded, and now you feel like a failure. Why do we do that? Why do we always compare ourselves? It kills the vibes. How do we feel better from this? When I was seriously competing in powerlifting, I would train for months on a routine. Every day, pushing harder and harder. Some days would be a struggle. Some days would be painful, but I kept going because I had a goal in mind. And after months of training, I finally reached a personal goal. I finally set a personal record, a PR. And you know what my teammates would say? A PR is a PR, which means any success you have is awesome because you've succeeded at besting yourself. You've improved over what you were before. It feels awesome to set a personal record, but then you watch a video of somebody lifting much heavier than you at a much lighter body weight. These guys are prodigies, and you feel disheartened. It's a struggle and it's painful because you feel like you're not good enough. You're not worth it. Why do we do that to ourselves? Our brain has a mechanism for survival. It's able to detect changes. It's also able to compare things very easily to find the changes. The reason it's made for survival is if things are constant, it doesn't detect a danger. But once something changes, something enters the environment, the brain has to assess whether it's a danger, a threat that we have to take care of now, or not a danger. And we are okay with that. We leave it alone. So the way it does that is it compares things. It compares the light and contrast, how big and small something is. So if a guy walks in, a massive dude walks in, your brain has to assess, is this a threat or not? And most likely, if it's a massive dude, your brain's gonna assess it as a threat. Like if you saw Shaq in person, you'd think, this guy looks like a threat. So your brain compares things to assess if something is or is not a threat. And that comparison is built in to your survival mechanism. That's why it's so hard to not compare yourself with others in terms of life achievements and goals. There's a lesson we could take from bodybuilders. These are enormous dudes who look like superheroes. These guys go on stage, super lean and vascular, and show off all the hard work they've put in. Now to us non-bodybuilders, we think that they look enormous. But to themselves, they feel like they're probably not big enough, not symmetrical enough, not lean enough. There's so many things they're comparing themselves to others who are far better achievers than they are. And that's the point. They're using a different measuring comparison than us who aren't in bodybuilding. What that tells us is we shouldn't compare ourselves with other people. Our measuring metrics are very different when we compare ourselves and others. We're a lot harsher to ourselves than we are to other people. We should only use the metrics that we have on ourselves. In other words, only compare yourself to what you were before. And I had forgotten this lesson. But it wasn't until I saw a girl compete in a powerlifting competition that it reminded me of it. I was going to a competition to support a friend of mine who was competing. There was this little girl who was about to step on the platform to compete. She wasn't more than, I want to say, 14 years old or so. But there she was, blonde, pigtailed girl, not more than 100 pounds, competing. There are guys who are much bigger than her, lifting hundreds of pounds, and they won't even compete. But she has put it all on the platform, faced her fear about being in front of people, and still stood there to compete. So when she started her deadlift, the weight came off the ground really quickly. But just as quickly as it came up, it started to slow down, an inch to a crawl. You could slowly see her start to struggle. Her brows start to furrow, her teeth start clenching, and her face starts straining. But you know what happened? The entire audience started supporting her. Old, young, men, women, big guys, little guys, quiet people, loud people, all started cheering her on. They all started cheering her on because they believed in her. They all wanted her to succeed. It was irrelevant what the weight was. It was irrelevant how long she had been lifting. They saw her on the platform, they saw her facing their fear, and they wanted to support her. They wanted to encourage her. And that's what I'd forgotten about powerlifting, is how much support there is in that community. They support you regardless of what you think of yourself. If you're on the platform and you're doing your competition, you're putting 100% of yourself in it. You leave nothing behind because that's your max you're going for. And when you go for your max, everybody knows it. Everybody wants to see you win, regardless of what you do. So this little girl, regardless of what she lifted, had the support of the people. As long as she was battling her fear, nobody cared what the weight was. As long as she's doing her best, as long as she's trying to be better than she was yesterday, that is a win. When we compare ourselves, we basically take a W from our win column and move it to the L column. That's insane. Imagine a sports team doing that. We don't want our win because the other team wasn't doing that well, or we weren't doing that well. Can you just change the win to a lose for us? Can you imagine if teams did that? But we do it all the time. I did great. It's a W for me, but it's not as good as the other guy, so I'm gonna take that as an L. We have to shift our mindset and appreciate the success that we've had. There's also a lot to be said about being the underdog. The original Star Wars trilogy wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for a guy in the middle of nowhere on an unknown planet, taking over an entire galactic empire. Yes, he was gifted, but he wasn't naturally gifted to take on the empire alone. He had to be trained. He had to learn his skill. He had to improve to defeat an entire galactic empire. And that underdog story tells you a great victory story at the end. It's a very heroic story of overcoming odds. Imagine what your heroic story would be if you overcame your odds and succeeded. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, you're going to struggle. Yes, you're going to feel discouraged. And that's okay to feel that way. But don't let it stop you from taking the actions you need to do. Take tiny steps if you have to. It doesn't matter how small, but as long as you're moving in the right direction, keep moving. It's okay to feel discouraged. And you know what? Even if you're angry about the other person being better, use that anger. Funnel it towards your task. Funnel it towards your goal. Use that anger to drive you to be better at work, to be better at your skill. But the important thing is to leave that anger there. If you use your anger and funnel it to your opponent at a sport, leave it in the sport. Don't take it out. Don't let it leak out into your private life. You could lose your friends and family if you let it leak out to your private life and let your anger control you. That's when the anger becomes a problem. But it's okay to feel that anger and funnel it towards your goals. There's always going to be someone bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you, smarter than you. You're human. It's only natural. But what other people don't have is your unique blend of skills. But maybe your unique blend of skills come in at the right time to make you the champion that the world needs. Now, you may be afraid of facing what you have to in order to achieve your goal because others have been doing so much better than you and are so far ahead of you. But you know what? There's a little girl out there lifting right now, being compared to other people, but she doesn't care because she's doing the best that she can. She's doing better every day. And you know what? One day, she might be the champion of all of them. And if that girl can do it, hell, so can you. So can all of us. If you're struggling with your emotions and want the tools to help take back control of them, check out the Emotional RX program below. And if you want to know the driving force behind your anger, your pain, and sadness, check out the link to the free ebook down below. If this video has been helpful to you, and you know a friend who could use it, please send it their way. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and until next time guys, stay healthy.